The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that's doomed.
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see your access to U.S. dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
You've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population. This place absolutely outshines it.
We are 5 months down or 5 months in. It's Monday, the first day of June, 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman. How's everyone feeling today? It is Monday, my favorite day of the week. You all think I'm faking when I say that, but I am absolutely seriously real when I say that Mondays are my favorite day of the week because I just love waking up and doing what I do. I love doing what I do. Mondays being my favorite days, meaning Sundays I have a lot of work to do. So I do work Sundays in order to have the discussions that I have with all of you. I have to do a lot of reading and then I have to write. So yeah, I love Mondays. I love engaging with all of you. I know you're saying, man, get a life. This is part of my life, and I appreciate and value the engagement that we have. So happy Monday to every last one of you. Hopefully you had a wonderful, safe, and healthy weekend, and we are back at it. The first day of June, first day of the 6th month of the year. We are almost halfway through 2026, folks. We are almost halfway through the calendar year. Look at that. Alrighty, well, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor. Francis Kredensor. Well, folks, June 1st represents the first day of hurricane season. Yeah, so we're going to be discussing the 2026 hurricane season. Bermuda, never immune. We're literally in Hurricane Alley out there in the Atlantic by ourselves. So really looking forward to what the forecasters are saying for this upcoming season. The Daily Play is going to be keys from the past in partnership with Curb. You all have been on fire with this. You have literally gotten these clues in less than a day every week. So really looking forward to seeing what you all do with today's clue. And don't forget, you can't say the answer in the audience. You've got to just go find the clue, all right? Audience, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Let's jump right into today's discussion. Folks, we've got a lot to discuss. I'm going to ask you right now, if you're rocking with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. But today, so often when we discuss the state of Bermuda, we find ourselves talking about the same issues: education, healthcare, crime, housing, the economy, the cost of living, and more. These conversations are important and necessary. But I've noticed something over the years that's quite fascinating. We're actually very good at identifying problems. In fact, that's usually where most of the agreement exists. Most people can go and point to what's wrong, what isn't working, what needs attention. However, That's often where the agreement ends. The challenge comes when we move beyond identifying the problem and start asking a deeper question. What does success actually look like? Let's take education, for example. Most people agree there's room for improvement. But what exactly are we trying to achieve? Is it a successful education system? Like, is it one that produces better test scores, higher graduation rates, more young people entering trades, more entrepreneurs, more Bermudians in leadership positions? Or is it simply a system that prepares young people to live successful and productive lives? Depending on who you ask, that answer may differ as well. The same can be said for healthcare. We all seem to agree that healthcare can improve, but what does a functioning healthcare system actually look like? Is it lower cost, better access, shorter wait times at the hospital, more preventative care, a system where people don't have to turn to fundraising campaigns when faced with a medical crisis? Again, there are many different answers depending on who is asked. Then there's the economy. We often, hear discussions about GDP growth, economic development, and attracting investment. But what does a sound and stable economy actually look like for everyday Bermudians? Is it strong economic indicators, or is it a Bermuda where hardworking people can afford a home, raise a family, save for retirement, and feel optimistic about their future? Even when it comes to crime, we often focus on reducing incidents. But what does a truly safe Bermuda look like? Is it fewer murders, less gang activity, more opportunities for young people, stronger families, greater trust in our institutions? Perhaps it's all of those things. The reality is this, though. It's difficult to solve our problems when we haven't fully agreed on what success looks like. We spend a lot of time debating who is responsible for the issues facing Bermuda, but not nearly enough time discussing what kind of Bermuda we're actually trying to build. And here's another observation I've made. I don't necessarily believe any one group of people is the problem. What I do believe is that there are individuals within various groups who seem to know how to win regardless of what's happening around them, regardless of who forms the government, regardless of economic conditions, regardless of policy changes. They continue to thrive. And that raises an interesting question. What do they know that others don't? Is it access, relationships, information, opportunity, resources? And if that's the case, how do we create a Bermuda where people have access to those same opportunities? Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. This morning, I'd like us to think beyond politics and beyond blame. And we want to find some solutions. So what does a Bermuda, question of the morning, what does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? We'll take a break, have a thought, and we'll be back after this short break to discuss.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
All right, audience, you heard the daily discussion question. It's what does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? What does it look like? I believe it was Charles H. Jeffers II, prior to him becoming the CEO of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, saying, if you ask Bermudians what Bermuda culture is, they'll all say different things. And someone said it last week. And while I agree, I didn't see it necessarily as an issue. But with things like education and crime and cost of living and the economy, let's use economic stability. What does economic stability mean for Bermuda? Does it mean that the rich remain rich and the others remain employed? Or does it mean that everyone has equal access to the same opportunities? What does that, we say these things, but what do they mean? And here's your poll question of the day. What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? 1 for racism, 2 for politics, 3 for classism, and 4 for other. What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? And if you're just tuning in, we're discussing pretty much, folks, what do you think? Or what does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? What does it look and feel like? Right? We spend so much time talking about what's wrong with Bermuda, whether it's education, healthcare, crime, housing, cost of living, the economy, immigration, tourism. Almost every last one of us can identify a problem. Every last one of us can identify a problem with Bermuda. The challenge that we have is we don't collectively agree on what success looks like for Bermuda. We don't. We often agree on the diagnosis, but disagree on the cure. Think about it. So what are your thoughts, audience? What does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? What does a Bermuda that works for you, me, your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues? What does that actually look like? And the poll question, what do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? 1 for racism, 2 for politics, 3 for classism, and 4 for others. What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable Bermuda? Let's go to the audience. What does a Bermuda that works for everyone look and feel like? What does a Bermuda that works for everyone look and feel like? Shawnette Sumner says, it looks like people feeling valued and included. Okay? Looks like people feeling valued and included. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I will say, I think a Bermuda that works for everyone actually looks like what it looks like to me. It looks like a Bermuda where people have equitable opportunities. I don't see that. I don't. And this is, we have to be honest having these conversations. As I said earlier during my opening, I don't believe it's any one group of people. I think it's systemic. And fortunately or unfortunately, groups of people benefit from certain systems the world over, right? Maybe race in some instances, it may be a caste system in other instances. There are systems that are in place. We have to break down these systems. Audience question of the morning. This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. What does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? And your poll question is, what do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? Is it racism, politics, classism, or other? What are your thoughts on that? Make sure you respond to the poll. We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson says a Bermuda that imposes taxes based on income, not the current flat rates, where lending rates / mortgage rates are equitable. We don't want to touch that. Because then people say, oh, you're punishing people for being successful. That's what they say. So we don't often touch that, Dr. Anthony Richardson. And I don't look at it as punishing people for being successful. Look, I am not a socialist, but I'm not a traditional capitalist. I just believe in, our hard work should deliver results for us. And those results should give us the ability to live in a fair and just society. Obviously, that's not how it works. There are so many people who believe that they're extreme one way or the other, like, that capitalism is exploitive, like it's impossible to be rich without exploiting others. I disagree with that. There are people who work hard and make smart investments. Then you have on the other side people who believe that socialists or socialism is, providing for lazy people. That's not always the case. I think that's extreme as well. I think we have to find a balance. We have to find a balance in our systems. But I take your point about the taxes based on income, not the current flat rates. What else, audience? What does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? And also the poll question, what do you think the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all is? Is it racism, politics, classism, or other? We've got Traveling Trotty saying, a Bermuda that works for everyone is one where opportunity is not limited by background, income, age, race, or postcode. Yeah, that can be applied the world over, right? Definitely can be applied the world over. She goes on to say, where people can afford to live with dignity, access quality education and healthcare, find meaningful work, feel safe in their communities, and see a real future for themselves and their families. The fact that people can work honest jobs and struggle to pay rent, mortgages, or for groceries tells you have a system that's not working for everyone. That's a system that's not working for everyone. And it can be argued that that's the system that currently exists in Bermuda. Don't forget the poll, audience. What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? Is it 1, racism, 2, politics, 3, classism, or 4, something else? This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Let us know, what does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? I think this question is important as well, because we have a leadership election coming up between former Minister of Finance, Curtis Dickinson, and current Minister of Economy and Labor, Jason Hayward. And I would love to pose this question to them as well. Because in fairness, both of them seem to cater to the IB sector, right? Minister Hayward's always out and about, and you see LinkedIn pictures with different folks in the IB sector. Mr. Dickinson, that's his background. Do they believe that that's that's a good space for Bermuda? Is that the IB space creating a fair and equitable Bermuda for all? Are we in touch with the blue collar workers? Are we in touch with everyone? I fear that we don't have balance in Bermuda. When I look at the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party since 2017 under the leadership of David Burt, I don't see how many lives have improved outside of those in certain sectors, as in the IB sector. When you think of the amount of Bermudians who have left the island, the amount of Bermudians who are working full-time jobs and struggling to survive, and then you see these economic indicators that the economy is doing well. To me, at the end of the day, if you want to know if something is doing well, look at the person at the bottom. I always said that a pastor should not be living better than half of their congregation. I believe that in leadership. I don't believe that leaders should be living better than half the population. I don't know much about the mayor of New York, but when I saw something about his salary and so on, he's not living better than probably a quarter of New Yorkers. I feel like until we get to that space where we have leaders who actually live amongst the people and like the people, then we're far off from a fair and equitable Bermuda. We can't just think that because people have experience in different sectors that they understand or can relate to the people who may be struggling. And when I say struggling, I'm not talking about, just people out of work or, on the streets. You have people who work honest full-time jobs who are struggling. So I'm speaking to Curtis Dickinson and Jason Hayward this morning. I'm speaking to their supporters this morning. Bermuda cannot continue on the same road that has been on since 2017. Bermuda can't continue to act as if we keep this sector happy, that everything else will fall in place. See, no one, I bring this up all the time, and no one ever talks about David Burt's words prior to the 2017 election. None of you. When he kept using that term, ripple economics, because, PLP in opposition criticized so much, trickle down. Where's the ripple economics? Where is it? The only ripple I see is people being farmed out and shipped out, mostly by choice for a better life in the King's land. And you wonder why people don't want independence? Man, maybe it's just me. I'm having a grumpy Monday. Maybe it's me. All right, let's go back to the audience. Audience, question of the morning, your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. What does a Bermuda that works for everyone actually look like? And the poll question is, what do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? 1, racism; 2, politics; 3, classism; or 4, something else. We've got Shawnette Sumner says, many people are selfish. They won't share information and resources for fear of someone else getting ahead of them. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, look, greed, ego, right? That's a lot of the times what it is, right? Charles H. Jefferson II, says, this is an important question that must be answered before developing a long-range master plan that should be worked towards, regardless of who is leading Bermuda from a political standpoint. And that's the problem, Charles. And it's been stated by yourself and others for ages, probably since prior to beginning this show, right? Plans should go beyond. It's like a constitution, right? It should go beyond who is leading. All the leadership should do is create a strategy or a different strategy on how to achieve or exceed the goals in that plan. But the plan should be an agreed way or direction or path toward the success that we collectively believe Bermuda should aspire to. Ms. Alan Kate Horton says we should pay accordingly to our ability to pay. Yeah, pay according to our ability to pay. Hence, I believe that income tax is a better situation. We have access to healthcare system. You all know how I feel about income tax. You all know how I feel about it. But I take the point. Income tax is an interesting one because, they say it scares away people who invest in jurisdictions. But I'm okay with that if it's creating a more fair and just space, right? We've got Michael Daniels says Bermudians do not have any idea what their true potential is, either individually or collectively. All right. Audience, what do you think, though, is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? What do you think is the biggest threat to an equitable and fair Bermuda for all? 1, racism; 2, politics; 3, classism; or 4, other. We've got Manuela says, we may consider a Bermuda that works for everyone as all being equal, but what we need to see is that everyone can afford to live without struggling and know their limits. I don't believe in an equal Bermuda. I believe in an equitable Bermuda. We can't be equal. We're not equal. I think equality is the biggest lie we make ourselves believe. We need to find a way to create an equitable space for Bermudians to be successful. And I agree with you, Manuela. People need to have the opportunity to live without struggle. Charles H. Jefferson II says Bermuda's middle class is quickly disappearing. We must find a way to strengthen the middle class. We are becoming a country of the haves and have-nots. You see it in the Royal Gazette regularly. You do. You see it in the Royal Gazette regularly when you see who's getting promotions at these companies and who's brought on board. I think there are two Bermudas. I think there's the rich and the poor. And based on the poll results, many of you, no one said racism. People said either classism or politics is the biggest threat. I believe racism is the underlier for all this. And the reason I think we go with classism is because a lot of people who use the Black struggle for political gain or economic gain, they used racism, right? They used the struggle to have what others had. So they weren't fighting for justice or for the cause. They used the cause so that they can have what others had. And that's what it was about to some people. Unfortunate, but true. Folks, today we have a very important guest. Today is June 1st. June 1st represents the first day of hurricane season. First day of hurricane season. So we've got the Deputy Director, Francis Kredensor, coming up. Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service coming up. We're going to be discussing hurricane season. In the meantime, let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure. And folks, if you appreciate this discussion this morning, make sure you give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, whatever platform you are tuned in on.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural experiences, they set the standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you.
All right, folks, it is June 1st, your days of the year. It is June 1st. I've got to ask you, it's hurricane season. Hurricane season begins today. What hurricane in your lifetime stands out the most and why? What hurricane have you experienced in your lifetime? And on your first day of hurricane season, what hurricane stands out the most to you and why? Two hurricanes I remember vividly experiencing were Hurricane Emily, because it was the first one I experienced. Fabian, because life was lost, and that's just not supposed to happen in Bermuda. And I was working at a local insurance company, a summer job. I hadn't gone back to school yet. And I remember Hurricane Fabian, the house shaking and, the carnage with the causeway being closed for weeks. And, I appreciated working at the insurance company, going into work as soon as we were able and assisting people who needed help. And then going around with the late Hubert Rogers and my best friend Jadal. We went to some houses to, elderly people he knew. And I was, I never saw Bermuda look like that. Never, ever saw Bermuda look like that, because prior to that, Fabian in 2003, 1987 was Emily. That was all I had. And so Emily will always stand out for being just the first hurricane I experienced, seeing trees uprooted and the like. But I think Fabian, the aftermath, I was absolutely shocked. I was absolutely shocked at the damage that it caused. But what hurricane stands out to you all? Traveling Trotty says Emily. Dr. Anthony Richardson says Emily. We've got Polly Rich says Fabian. All righty. We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson says Fabian never saw houses explode. Yeah. We've got Shawnette Sumner says Emily, September 25th, 1987, because all of the unpredictability with the tornadoes, we lost the roof and windows. Emily made me terrified of hurricane. Yeah. Emily, for me, I was a pup. I was a pup, folks. I was very young. And I remember hiding hiding in the kitchen by the stove was going to protect me. But all right, folks, let's take our first break. Don't forget, Get your questions ready. We've got the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor, coming up. We're discussing the 2026 hurricane season. Get your questions ready because we're going to find out what kind of season we're in for. And regardless of whether it's going to be a busy one or not, all it takes is one hurricane, folks. Remember that. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere.
Children love to play and have fun. And they love gifts even more, especially ones that they can enjoy and learn from. With Bermuda Trivia coloring books, kids can explore the island while they color, learn, and create. The perfect activity for fun and learning together. Available now.
Visit BermudaTrivia.com and follow Bermuda Trivia on your favorite social media platforms to learn more.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
What lasts isn't what you buy, but what it becomes. With the HSBC MasterCard credit card, every spend quietly adds to a story shaped by intention and offers what matters most. Support that meets you where you are. Protection that preserves what you choose. Confidence for the unexpected. Peace of mind wherever your story leads. Start your next chapter. Use your card today. HSBC is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
I know you want to come get some. Come get some. Playing around. Playing around. I got the juice. I got it, no doubt.
Ever taken medication and thought, why is this hitting me so hard? Or why isn't this doing anything at all? Here's something you may not know. Your body processes medication the same way it needs to process food, using enzymes. And these enzymes metabolize medication so it can be converted into its useful form or removed from your body. Pharmacogenetics looks at how your DNA influences the way your body metabolizes or breaks down medications. It helps explain why a drug that works well for one person causes side effects in another and barely works at all for someone else. That means the same pill at the same dose can feel very different from one person to the next. It's not about blame, it's not about doing something wrong, it's simply biology. And once you know what works best for you, medication decisions stop being guesswork and start becoming personalized.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. Jamal Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical Wells, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest for the day, folks. Today, June 1st, marks the first day of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, and we're going to be welcoming in the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome. Oops. Nope, that's not the one, folks. Here we go. Here we go. Sir, how are you?
Oh, good morning. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, first off, thank you for doing this. We, you know, had a little trouble with our sound effect just now, but make sure we got the right one. Before we jump into today's conversation with you, can you just give the audience a bit about your background and what it is that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I was deputy director of the Bermuda Weather Service. I kind of manage our operational side of things, and also take the lead on media engagement and working with our government partners. So that's kind of what I do. Background: I'm actually been a meteorologist for about 20 years now. I'm new to Bermuda, but between private sector and government jobs, I was working previously. Stateside for the last 18 or 19 years before I got here.
All right. Well, thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's jump right into it. So today, as I mentioned, the Atlantic hurricane season officially begins. What are forecasters expecting for the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, and what factors are driving those predictions?
Yeah. Well, the kind of the NOAA forecast from the National Hurricane Center in the States that I think we treat as kind of the quote unquote official forecast is for below normal. Right now, I think they're calling. I have it in front of me here 8 to 14 tropical storms, which is below the normal of about 14 to 15. 3 to 6 hurricanes. The normal there is 7, and 1 to 3 major hurricanes. The normal for that is about 3 per year. And that's common because the biggest factor this year is El Nino. That does, typically suppress hurricane activity a bit in the Atlantic Basin, especially for the Gulf and parts of the Caribbean. We see some lower activity there. The rest of the Atlantic, not always. So, definitely, even though it's tilted towards below normal, Bermuda is by no means, out of the woods on hurricane season this year.
Indeed. The director of the National Hurricane Center recently emphasized the importance of preparing before a storm threatens. Why is early preparation so critical, even in a season that may be forecast as below average?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it best before the break. It only takes one storm, and honestly, we don't celebrate the start of hurricane season, but it is a good milestone to remind people to get prepared. Because it's better to check your storm shutters now, and check, other parts of your storm preparation kit and whatnot now, rather than 3 days before the storm hits when everyone else is trying to call, the storm shutter, repair company or go buy supplies. So what you can, do what you can now before the season starts, just so you're ready. And to the point that it only takes one, or in some cases 2 in a below normal season. I just think about 2014 season. That was below normal. I think there were only 7 or 8 named storms that year, but Bermuda got hit back to back by Faye and Gonzalo. I've obviously I wasn't here, but I've heard about all the tree damage that was caused because of how wet the soil got. Trees were just falling over left and right. So that was a below normal season, but I bet Bermudians would not argue that was a below normal impact season for this island.
Indeed. Audience, if you have any questions for the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor, about the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, feel free to send your questions or comments through. Let's talk about one of the key safety messages this year. It's knowing your risk and understanding forecast information. Language is so important, right? What are some things people often misunderstand when they hear hurricane watches versus hurricane warnings or seasonal outlooks?
Yeah, well, I mean, seasonal outlook is just that. It's an outlook. It's a long-range prediction. And while, we can use certain things such as El Nino or sea surface temperatures to, get a good idea of where the season might be headed before it even starts, it's not, certainly as a long-range prediction, it's subject to error. So if there's a below normal season, like I said, it doesn't guarantee you're not going to get hit, just as an above normal season doesn't guarantee you will get hit. It all just depends on where the storms go, and before the season we really can't say that. When it comes to the watches and warnings, really, the watch is the one that gets issued, ideally at least 2 days in advance, maybe a little bit further out. And then, warning is when, and the watch is when we're, concerned. We're thinking, there's at least a 50-50 chance. And then when we get to the warning phase, that's where we're pretty confident that we're going to see tropical storm or hurricane force impacts here on the island. And so really the watch phase is when you want the key takeaway is the watch phase is when you want to make sure your preparations are complete. The warning phase, you really, by the time a warning is issued, ideally you will already be done with your preparations by then.
Indeed. Audience, just a quick question. Again, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them through, but I have a question for the audience. Do you stay at home during a hurricane or do you go to a hotel? For years, people always say, oh, where do Bermudians evacuate? I'm like, we don't really. So over the years now, I've realized some Bermudians go to hotels, which isn't an evacuation. It's just a place where they feel safer with the heavy electricity and so on. But for families and homeowners, what are the most important steps you believe they should take right now to prepare their homes themselves, whether it's emergency supplies and communication plans before any storm develops? Like, we're very early right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and thankfully this Bermuda is, does benefit from the fact that we typically don't see impacts till later in the season. The early season is more for the Gulf and the Caribbean. That's where you'll typically see storms spin up then. So thankfully, we usually don't have to worry about it until August, most years. But, so this is a great time to have that lead time to look at things. So, yeah, make sure, like I said earlier, if you have storm shutters, make sure, you've tested those out, make sure they're working properly. And when it comes to supplies, if you have a generator, now's a great time to test it if you haven't had to use it in the last, several months with other power outages. Test that generator, make sure you got fuel in it. When it comes to, make sure your family members, especially if you have kids, make sure, everyone knows the plan if, there is going to be a serious storm that's heading towards Bermuda. And when it comes to, like your first aid supplies, other things for an emergency kit, whether it's staying at home or going somewhere else, make sure, we all have our, cell phone battery packs. So make sure those are, make sure you have them. If they're a few years old, maybe it's time to replace them because they're not going to hold a charge. Things like that you might not think of, but yeah, just try and make sure everything for a go kit is ready. Make sure you have a plan for if you're in a flood prone area, for example, along the coast or a typical heavy rain flooding area. Are you going to go somewhere else? Make sure you know where you're going if you have family or friends, etc. So yeah, I think it's really important to have all that stuff done now, so there's less scrambling when the storm comes.
Indeed. Did I ask a few people, the audience, what do they do during a hurricane? A few people responded. Suzanne Ingham said, stay at home and I don't sleep at night. We've got Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, definitely stay at home. James Burgess, stay at home. Stay home, says Nicole Walker. So pretty much everyone who's responded says stay at home. Real quickly, Bermuda's so small, right? So it's easy for hurricanes to miss, thankfully. Bermuda doesn't have to take a direct hit to experience dangerous impacts. Can you explain some of the risk storms can pose even when they pass well offshore of Bermuda?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can, certainly coastal wave action, rip currents, things like that. I mean, I know folks on the East Coast of the U.S. Enjoy a storm out to sea because it can make, better, surfing weather if they want. And same here, you can get, good wave action, but that also carries its dangers. So, you don't want to be certainly swimming when there is those heavy swells start coming in because that will cause those rip currents that, are deadly. Certainly, get those high wave action, you don't want to be right down on those, some low rocks and some of those coves and whatnot, because, if you get one of those sudden, rogue waves that, comes in even past the reef line, that could sweep you right off. So things like that. And even, fortunately, we don't have to worry about too much storm surge when the storm is far away, but definitely I'd say the wave action and potentially heavy rain bands are the biggest issues when they're a little pass away from us.
All right, we've got a few questions from the audience. WKD Lama says, do you believe cuts to the NOAA will make hurricane predictions more difficult?
Right now, I think a lot of the prediction capability is kind of, I would say, already baked in. The models are there, they run, and in terms of new models coming online all the time, a lot of that is done by other researchers. I would be maybe a little concerned about if they had too little staff to help out with the forecast. But in general, I would say overall, right now we haven't seen any difference in our interactions with them. But that's definitely something we'll keep an eye out going forward.
Indeed. We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson asking, is it a good idea for families to do hurricane drills in Bermuda? This tends to occur in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea. If somebody wants to, families want to do that, please, like I said, just it's a great way to make sure where you're going. If you are going somewhere else, where you're going. If you're doing, just preparation drills, so folks know, here's how, so even the kids know how to operate the storm shutters, things like that. Yeah, I think any sort of preparation that folks can do is a good thing.
Indeed. I believe you answered this, but Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, when a Cat 2 or a higher hurricane is headed towards Bermuda, we always seem to be more concerned with the eye of the storm, even if the eye isn't a direct hit. Why should we still be concerned? You kind of explained that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yes, the eye is where the strongest winds are, and immediately around the eye is where the highest storm surge is going to be. So that is the most concerning part of the storm. But you can still have those heavy rain bands that go, even a couple hundred miles out from the center of the storm that can cause flooding or have some strong gusty winds. It's those heavy rain bands on the outer edges that are most likely to, contain water spouts or tornadoes. So that's also a concern, more so than the eye wall itself. And then, like I said, you can still get, certainly those heavy waves and a little, maybe not the full surge, but you can still have some wave run up along the shoreline. So, that's and that wave action, that can arrive 2 or 3 days before the storm makes its closest approach. So, that's definitely why we try and start getting the word out early, so that folks, know not to, not to be going down to the coast when the waves start, even if the winds haven't gotten bad yet.
Indeed. The National Hurricane Center has also highlighted the importance of having multiple ways to receive forecasts and alerts. Why is that especially important during severe weather events?
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta, obviously, especially here, on the island where, if you take out one piece of critical infrastructure, you might have a lot of people relying on, other avenues of communication. So definitely, cell phones are a great way to receive information. Having, just a regular internet connection as well at your house is good. Family and friends. I mean, the, one thing in the several months that I've, been here in Bermuda, it's the sense of community. There's a lot of tight-knit groups, family and friend groups on this island. So those are great sources of information. Just make sure you're getting reliable information and share that with your friends. That on its own is its own, kind of communication network. But yeah, just because, if one of the cell phone providers loses service, how are we, that's going to tax other systems. So, but it's always good to have multiple lines just in case one goes down.
Indeed. Before you head out, if there's one message you'd like every Bermudian to take away ahead of this 2026 Atlantic hurricane season, what would it be?
Honestly, it's the, be prepared. Don't be caught off guard because, the forecast is for a below normal season. And when it comes to any individual storm, we don't put out hurricane watches and warnings, just because we put them out when we think there's going to be serious impacts to the island. So, for any individual storm, if there's, watches and warnings issued for Bermuda, take them seriously. And each storm is different. I know, people, will refer, think back to, oh, is it going to be as bad as, Fabian or Emily or, things like that. And sometimes we do try and be like, oh, this is a similar strength to that storm, but we also, every storm, is different depending on where it's coming from, how strong it is. That greatly affects the impacts to Bermuda. So, just I would say, keep an eye on the forecasts, and when the when we issue something, and if our government partners are putting out their messages, please do pay attention. We're not doing it for our own benefit. We're doing it for the benefit of Bermuda.
Indeed. We've got a final question from the audience. Charles H. Jeffers II says, when I moved back to Bermuda after living away for almost 30 years, I had no idea how to prepare for hurricane season. What does NHC do to help those who are new to the island, to help them prepare? What do they help them to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, NHC is a that's an American agency with NOAA, with the National Weather Service back in the States. But they, hurricane preparedness tips there work just about everywhere else. And if you go, at least on the U.S. side, I know I think it's ready.gov has good information, but also I was looking around on the Bermuda websites, government websites, and if you search on their sites for hurricane preparedness tips, they also have tips. So that can really be good to get those reminders of things like storm shutters, of what to have in an emergency kit, things like that. So definitely, I would encourage checking out those sources for more information on storm preparedness and how you get ready for the season and get ready for an individual storm.
Indeed. One last, Manuela says, does it make a difference which side of the house is vented according to the direction of the winds?
That was especially, I know that was definitely something that we had, that was somewhat of an urban legend or a myth back in the days, especially with tornadoes, of opening the windows on one side or the other. When it comes to hurricanes, you do have to watch out. I would say you probably want to have, if you're going to open windows, open them on the lee side, the downwind side, because the way that hurricanes really cause damage to structures is when the wind can get inside and really just start, whether it's getting under a weak point in the eaves of the along the roof line, or actually getting breaking windows. The wind gets in and it can really lift things up, lift off that roof, and that's where you get the true really bad structural damage. So if you're going to open windows, I would say do the downwind side, but generally, at least with a hurricane coming, I'm probably keeping most of my windows closed, to be honest.
Indeed. Just remind people where they can go to keep up with the information throughout hurricane season, but just forecasting period.
Yeah. Weather.bm is our site, and we'll have front and center any hurricane watches and warnings will be on that site. So yeah, please definitely check this out. We try and get a little more active on social media during hurricane season, since we know that's the really big impact thing that folks pay attention to in terms of weather here in Bermuda. So we will be getting more active on that, and so when we'll keep everyone informed as best we can.
All right, Francis Kredensor, the Deputy Director of Bermuda Weather Service, thank you so much for stopping by on this first day of the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. Please keep in touch. Let us know if there's anything we can do to ensure that the public is aware.
Oh, thank you. I had fun. Thank you, sir.
All righty. We'll talk soon. Folks, if you appreciated that discussion and you're streaming with us on one of our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We'll take our final break. Come back. We've got the keys to the past, daily play coming up, and you all have done great. You don't want to miss the clue today. Stick with us.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
Bermuda, there's nothing like a home-cooked meal, especially when you can feed the whole family without stretching your wallet. With the affordable Bermuda basket, you'll find savings on everyday staples like rice, chicken, corn, and more. Everything you need to make a good meal for less. Shop the Bermuda basket at Lindo's, Marketplace, the Garden Market, and the English Market. Visit costofliving.gov.bm to see the full list of goods and start planning your meals. This is a message from the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Life moves fast, and so can the unexpected. When you insure your home, you need to know that your insurance company has your back. At Friesenbrook, let one of our friendly and professional agents give you that peace of mind. Because when you are covered, you are confident. Call us at 296-3600 or visit friesenbrook.bm to learn more.
Alrighty, welcome back, and thanks again to the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor, for stopping by. Very important conversation, folks. I mean this. Don't get caught out this summer, or as we enter the fall. Just prepare. Don't take anything for granted when it comes to one of the most unpredictable forces that exist, which is the weather. We know better. Don't be so arrogant. We've seen how that's turned out previously for us. So thanks again to the Bermuda Weather Service for always trusting this platform and coming on the first day of hurricane season for 2026. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medical, Linda's People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Guess what? Shoe by the original and Shoe by the summer edition back in stores this month. You've got the coloring book and all the traditional games. You want to get that cup match edition before they run out, and the new sports edition released earlier this year. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right. Are you ready? It's Keys to the Past in partnership with Curb this morning. All right. Do not say the answer in the audience. All right. Unless you want someone to go get it before you. It's week 5, and here is today's clue. From bondage came a life rebuilt, with love, with trade, with measured guilt. A home of strength, of wealth, of pride, where freedom and success reside. Seek the house where history grew, from chains once worn to fortunes new. All right, folks, you got it? Seek the house. All right, that's your clue today. All right. Let's wrap it up. As far as this morning's discussion, I'll say this much. Bermuda has become very unbalanced. In education, those who can afford it, and even those who can't, are sending their children to private institutions. I never understood healthcare crisis until I got to the United States. And I see the same thing about to play out in Bermuda. We don't need those problems. Healthcare, like access to healthcare, should not depend on how much money you have, what you look like, where you live, or where you're from. The economy. Everyone's, and I've got a lot of love and respect for Curtis Dickinson, Jason Hayward. Look, they're putting their names forward. They don't have to. They're doing it for whatever reasons, maybe self-gain, maybe not. Maybe they truly care about Bermuda and the people. And I actually really do. They believe that they do. I do believe they do. But what does a sound economy look like? I need answers on that. People should not be making six figures and struggling. And enough is the nonsense about people need to live within their means. It's expensive. Crime. We love to talk about, oh, look at these guys just out here doing this or doing that. This is the result of not having access to quality education and healthcare, equitable economic opportunities and resources and networks. Bermuda has many problems, but I'm a firm believer that just because of you who tune into this show, we have the intellectual capital to solve the many problems we have. We just have to execute. As far as the conversation with the Deputy Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, Francis Kredensor, I just said it, folks. Let's not be arrogant this hurricane season. Let's not be arrogant this hurricane season. Let's be prepared. Let's look out for one another. And regardless of what they say, that this may be a below average hurricane season, as has been stated time and time again, all it takes is one. All right, got to give you a daily inspiration, but I chose this quote from my book. And again, People's Pharmacy, big up to People's Pharmacy and Bermuda Bookstore. People's Pharmacy got a new shipment, so they have more books, as well as Bermuda Bookstore. I chose this quote today because last week, and I've said to you all before, since my mom's passed, and I try not to look at the obituary section in the news, but I shifted over because my best friend in Texas lost his mom, and she was in there. Then I saw another classmate, same class in primary school, whose mom was in there. And then I saw a young person who I worked with in a summer job back in the day, someone who was on Facebook, full of life, at least it seemed, just 2 weeks ago, sharing her travels in the obituary section. And this quote was something that I wrote as it related to my own mother's passing. And it goes like this. Life gives us constant reminders of why it's so important to appreciate people while they are still living. So that's why I say to you all, you could be doing so many other things. You could be filling your heads with bunga bunga music on a Monday morning. You could be driving in silence. You could be laying down in silence. You could be having conversations with your friends and family and colleagues. But I appreciate that you choose to spend it engaging on the daily hour. It's something that I don't take for granted. So gratitude, I'm full of it every day for all of you. So I hope that you feel my appreciation and my gratitude on a regular basis. All right, audience, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are Izelle. Peace.